Well, Bertie, you're the Dunlop Tarmac champion. I suppose you could say it's taken quite a while.
It certainly has. If I go right back to when I first sat in a rally car, I suppose it's 20 years now. So, but you know, obviously we haven't been competing at the top level or at the level to win the championship for that many years. But we've been around quite a while.
So let's look back on it briefly. Right from Galway, it was pretty bitter out there.
Yeah, Galway was a terrible rally in terms of weather conditions and all the rest of it, but it was Austin McHale's first event with the BMW, and you know, I had the psychological advantage, and felt that, you know, Austin was going to take at least half the rally getting used to the car, and that, you know, we should get up and go and get a bit of a lead built up, and that's exactly what we were doing. And but you know, before the end of the second day, we had lost 6 minutes with a battery problem, and it just gave Austin enough of a cushion that he could really learn to drive the car without too much pressure from behind, and as it turned out, we finished about a minute behind him in second place. And
so it's first blood to Austin, then came the circuit, and more points for Austin.
More points for Austin on the circuit, yeah. The circuit, we were going particularly well up on the up in the stages in the north, and I think we were probably a minute or over a minute in front of Austin. And when we went down south on the very first stage, I simply didn't waken up, and Austin took something like 15 or 17 seconds from us. Trying to stop the rot too quickly, we just were trying a little bit too hard, and on a very slippery corner, the tail of the car got a little bit wide, and unfortunately there was a telegraph pole there, which sort of brought the whole thing to a rather sudden stop and end of circuit.
Well, probably the most exciting contest of the whole year was Duneagle.
Yeah, Duneagle was always a cracking event, you know, and it was an equal battle, and it was a very, very good battle. Unfortunately, James Cullen dropped out of it in so much as that he had a problem on the first stage with the turbo. So while James was doing very, very good times throughout the rally, he wasn't really concerning the sort of the top three running cars, which was Vincent, Austin, and myself. And we had a very, very good battle which came right down to the wire, and in fact, had it not been for a 10-second road penalty which we incurred, I think we would have won the rally by 1 second. As it was, Austin won by 9, but you know, it was a super event.
Useful points in the bag, of course, and then more points on the Ulster.
Yeah, the Ulster turned out somewhat, maybe people would say probably maybe a slightly lucky event for us in many ways, in that the first day was atrociously wet conditions, and we had just had a new management system fitted on the engine, which I hadn't tested prior to the event. And as it turned out, the car was just so a real high rev and screaming car with absolutely no bottom end power, and was virtually impossible to drive on the very wet stages. And I think we had dropped maybe out of the top 10 at one position. But second day dawned very bright and dry, and we got our act together and really started to come up the leaderboard, and we would have finished third, but then Malcolm Wilson had his problem, and we eventually finished second, which turned out to be a very good result and some very useful points.
And then, of course, the Manx, and what a fairy tale that was, that sadly went very wrong.
Yeah, the Manx obviously was... We put a lot of effort in for the Manx, probably more effort for that rally than I have put in for several years now, and we went out and attacked from the very, very start, and it was all working fine for 2.5 days, and 35th, going to the start of the 35th stage, we came across a service van doing a 3-point turn in the middle of a very fast piece of road just around the corner, and we had a choice: hit the service van or drive over a fairly high curb at 60 miles an hour. And it was obviously, we went for the curb, but we punctured a wheel, damaged the wheel, and unbeknown at that time, damaged the suspension strut as well. With only a sort of 200 or 300 yards to go to the time control for the start of the stage, we had to go in, get our time at the time control, ask permission to change the wheel, and a lot of panic, and a mile into the stage we clipped a rock with the offending strut and punctured a tyre and drove 8 miles and lost. Quite luckily, actually, we only lost about 2 minutes in the stage.
And then he went to Cork with a good points lead, but that didn't work out too well either.
Yeah, we went to Cork with a 10-point lead over Austin, and we were, I think we were leading the rally at the time by a couple of seconds from Austin, and on a pretty narrow stage on a very, very fast section of road, we touched a wheel against a little rock growing out of the tarmac at the side, and that was probably the most unluckiest non-finish of the year.
So the trip to Killarney was with a forlorn hope for the championship.
I felt it was certainly still worth going down there, and if nothing else, have a go, try and win a rally, because I was getting to the stage of thinking that, you know, 3 second places, I wasn't going to win a rally again, and we went down there with a good attitude, and we were leading the rally, and Austin had a problem on 3 or 4 stages from the end, and obviously that gave us the championship and a good end to the season.
So the luck all sort of reversed out in the end, really?
The luck reversed out in the end, but you know, I think over the whole year it's probably levelled up all right, and you know, we have had our problems, Austin's had his problems, and we have finished, I think it's 10 points apart in the championship, first and second, and you know, I would have to say that either one of us probably could have won the championship, and as it turned out, it fell for me this time. So.
Now, sadly, you can't be in Dublin on Friday night to receive the big prize.
No, Plum, unfortunately, Friday night clashes with the Shell Awards in evening in London, and as Shell have been very long-term sponsors of mine, I do feel honour-bound to be at their awards evening.
Well, I'm sure because you won't be there physically, you'll be there in spirit, and there'll be many messages you want to give.
I certainly will, Plum, and there are so many people I really must thank for their help to me in winning the championship, and none more so than the big man, Kieran, and the K-Mac group. Kieran has been sponsoring my cars now for a few years, and he has really given me a lot of support, and he's a very, very enthusiastic guy, and I really would want to thank Kieran. To Shell, as I have mentioned, to Pirelli, to ProDrive and all of the mechanics, and even my mechanics from my Manta days and Ford Escort days with Sydney Meek, who have come out on the events, to all of the event sponsors who, you know, without them we wouldn't have the rallies, and especially to Dunlop for their support to the championship. The championship has come back onto a good high level with good recognition and lots of media coverage, and I think that's very good for Irish rallying. And obviously to Rory, who has been with me this year, first year out, and we've really had a very, very good working relationship. Rory's a super co-driver, and I certainly must say a very big thank you to Rory. And last but by no means least, to all of the media for their coverage of the events, and all the cameramen and people who stand out in the winds and rain and Galway and so on. It's really been a great championship.
Bertie, we've enjoyed greatly covering it, and once again on behalf of everybody here in Dublin, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Plum, and I hope that everyone in Dublin tonight has a very good night, and as I'm not there, I think I'll have to leave the drinks to Kieran.